So if I played 400 rounds of Monopoly with you and I had to play and give you every dime that I made, and then for 50 years, every time that I played, if you didn't like what I did, you got to burn it like they did in Tulsa and like they did in Rosewood, how can you win? How can you win? The game is fixed. So when they say, why do you burn down the community? Why do you burn down your own neighborhood? It's not ours. We don't own anything. Trevor Noah said it so beautifully last night. There's a social contract that we all have, that if you steal or if I steal, then the person who is the authority comes in and they fix the situation. But the person who fixes the situation is killing us. So the social contract is broken. And if the social contract is broken, why the f do I give a shit about burning the Football Hall of Fame, about burning the Target? You broke the contract when you killed us in the streets and didn't give up. You broke the contract when for 400 years we played your game and built your wealth. You broke the contract when we built our wealth again on our own, by our bootstraps in Tulsa, and you dropped bombs on us. When we built it in Rosewood and you came in and you slaughtered us. You broke the contract, so your Target, your Hall of Fame. As far as I'm concerned, they could burn this bitch to the ground and it still wouldn't be enough. And they are lucky that what black people are looking for is equality and not revenge.
Hey everyone, I just wanted to make a quick announcement before I go into the second part of the Kerner Report that once this channel reaches 500 subscribers, I will have a giveaway. Oh, you're so kind. No need for the applause. No, seriously. But as I was saying, so when this channel reaches 500 subscribers, I will announce the details on how or what we're looking for and things of that nature. That's about it. Thank you so much. And again, thanks for your support. Now let's get into this second part. The Kerner Report emphasized the role of the police in two ways. The police are not merely a spark factor. To some Negroes, police have come to symbolize white power, white racism, and white repression. And the fact is that many police do reflect and express these white attitudes. The atmosphere of hostility and cynicism is reinforced by a widespread belief among Negroes in the existence of police brutality and in a double standard of justice and protection, one for Negroes and one for whites. It is worth noting that in its summary and introduction, the Kerner Commission offered a sweeping assessment of the role of white racism and segregationist white institutions in housing, education, and employment as a basic fact of American history and contemporary social conditions. When it comes to police, however, the Kerner Report took a more indirect route, observing that there was a widespread belief among Negroes in the existence of police brutality and in a double standard of justice and protection. We see 5 basic problem areas. 1. The need for change in police operations in the ghetto to ensure proper conduct by individual officers and to eliminate abrasive practices. And I would like to add that because of the history of brutality and, let's go way back to slavery. No matter how this country tries to remove the stain from slavery, it can't. Until you rectify it in a sincere way, it can't be removed. But It's like taking a stain, a nasty, disgusting stain on your carpet or rug, and you just throw something over it. Instead of dealing with it and cleaning it thoroughly and right, you just throw something on top of the stain to cover it, but it's still there. So that's how this country has been dealing with slavery and the history of brutality and violence against black Americans in this country. But as I was saying, because of the history, the disgusting history in this country against black Americans, I'm trying to figure out or understand why they're so lackadaisical when it comes to having white police officers and Hispanic police officers and Asian police officers patrol our communities. But if you go to those, if you had the opportunity to be in those communities where it's predominantly white, Asian, Hispanic, or what have you, you're not going to see predominantly black officers in those communities, because they're going to raise hell. They're going to be like, we want our kind, we want our kind. But when it comes to black folks, everybody can deal with black folks. But when it comes to other people, they want their people specifically. Go to some of those communities in New York. You know what I'm talking about. Yo, people who live in New York, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They're going to have people in their community who are police officers that represent them, that look like them. So because of the history, we should have predominantly black officers in our communities. That's just it. That's what the Black Panthers was trying to do until they came up with this racist law to we can't carry guns in public anymore. We used to be able to do that, but then when the Black Panthers came in and protested, it's like, oh hell no, these black folks, they got guns too, because of the past. And we're so afraid of them retaliating and seeking revenge, because we know that we are very revengeful people. We just believe everybody else is the same way. So since we know we treated these black folks, these Negroes, so terribly, let us take their rights to carry guns in public away. Anybody's stupid.
The second basic problem: the need for more adequate police protection of ghetto residents to eliminate the present high sense of insecurity to persons and property. Number 3, the need for effective mechanisms for resolving citizen grievances against the police.
Yeah, you really do need to fix that police. And dear police department in every state in this country, you need a better way.
Number 4, the need for poly guidelines to assist police areas where police conduct can create tension. That's 5th. Number 5, the need to develop community support for law enforcement. In reality, police brutality and racial inequality in law enforcement and in the criminal justice system were structured and pervasive in the urban north and throughout the United States. Not just something that African Americans felt and believed, but the Kerner Commission was just as interested in documenting the criminality and disorder of young black rioters, and in its sections on police brutality lacked the moral clarity of its other calls for social reform and social justice. The summary of the Kerner Report included a long list of specific proposals for reforming housing, employment, education, and the social welfare system, but nothing tangible about transforming the role of the police in urban African American communities. Side note right quick,
I'm not reading the actual Kerner Report. I believe it's just a little too vast, and it would take me a long time to write notes to discuss specific things that they detailed in their report. I'm reading an article from Detroit Under Fire: Police Violence, Crime, Politics, and the Struggle for Racial Justice in the Civil Rights Era. And they basically summarized the Kerner Commission report. So
Props to you guys. Now I'm gonna have to make a consciously remember to put these links to these articles that I get this information from. I need to consciously remember to put it in the description of the video. Please, my apologies for not having these links attached to the video. But how many of you wanted to see them for yourself? All you got to do is leave a comment and ask. I will be reminded of, oh my God, I didn't put it in there. Okay, back to the report.
Chapter 11 of the Kerner Report did address the police and the community at length. This section portrayed the police as caught between the demands for tough law enforcement by the white majority and charges by black militants that they operated as agents of repression. Again, the Kerner Commission presented the latter view as something that African Americans perceived and believed rather than as a historical fact. Negroes firmly believe that police brutality and harassment occur repeatedly in Negro neighborhoods. This belief is unquestionably one of the major reasons for intense resentment against the police. Virtually every major episode of urban violence in the summer of 1967 was foreshadowed by an accumulation of unresolved grievances by ghetto residents against local authorities, often but not always the police. So high was the resulting underlying tension that routine and random acts tolerated or ignored under most circumstances, such as the raid on the blind pig in Detroit and the arrest of the cab driver in Newark, became the triggers of sudden violence. Coinciding with this high level of dissatisfaction and confidence in the willingness and ability of the local government to respond to Negro grievances was low. Evidence presented to the commission in hearings, field reports, and research analysis of the 1967 riot cities establishes that a substantial number of Negroes were disturbed and angry about local government failures to resolve their own problems. The Kerner Commission stated that it was impossible to know how often police abused their discretion in the use of force. The report did acknowledge that the indiscriminate stops and searches and harassment of African Americans on the street, especially groups of youth, was common practice and had increased with formal stop and frisk tactics and special aggressive preventive patrol units, such as the DPD's Tactical Mobile Unit.
Okay. You would think that if a group of people throughout the decades consistently complained about how they were treated by a particular government group, police department, and it didn't stop, you will wonder why throughout all these years, all these decades that black people have complained about police brutality. Why hasn't it stopped? Can you think of one reason why it hasn't stopped? I mean, I know there was a time before Rodney King, before it was actually recorded, people was black people just obey the law. Oh my God, why don't you just stop complaining and just obey the law? Now they want to come up with these stories talking about our good fellows, the police officers are abusing them. Can you believe that? I just as sure try to breathe underwater and believe a niggers about police from actually beating them and abusing them. Oh my God, they're so friendly when they come into our neighborhood. I just can't believe that police officers would do such a thing. That was the mentality before Rodney King. Before it was actually, the beating was captured on video.
Because the police did it. It was on the video. So what else do you need to prove it?
Yes, ma'am. You wanted to say what?
I just wanted to say I'm for the verdict. I'm not condoning what the officers did. I think they got a little bit out of hand, of course. But listen, no, we did not see the first 60 seconds of that video. We did not. No. Did you? No. The media is our number one influencing agent. And that's all we saw was what the media decided to put up on that screen.
Please
Just
let
showed
her
that
finish.
for 21 seconds, and that was it. What else did we see? They decided to put up there.
To cause him to get beat like that before you even seen it on the video. What did he do to justify?
And they're saying
the
he is
beating
not a
like he
dangerous
got?
man who drives 80 miles per hour in a residential district.
I apologize for my young lady. It's her youth.
Wait a minute. And why do you say you apologize? It's her youth. Hold on. Why do you
Youth.
why do you say you
She
apologize?
isn't old enough to know what has been going on for a long time.
Wait a minute. She just said she apologizes for you because you don't understand.
I am graduating from college this very 30th of May. I know better. I am an educated woman.
I am 70. I know what they go through. I am 78 years old, dear. I am educated.
I
and
understand.
if you don't have the compassion in your heart.
I do.
Now, no.
Yes, I do.
You do not realize or you do not see that this man was kicked. I don't care what he did. He was
I know,
kicked
I understand.
69
That's
times.
all I saw. That's all.
That's
I
all.
did not see every aspect. Why did they kick him? Why did they do
you
it?
You don't kick a dog.
The opportunity to look at that film. Look at how they beat that man. All you got to do is just transport your imagination back to the slave days with the overseers and the slave patrols. I guarantee you they look just like that when they was beating them people. Just the way they beat Rodney King, I guarantee you they look just like that. They look like they was beating a runaway slave. And if that person is still alive today that recorded that, God bless you. Because until that was shown, they always made it seem like black people was lying about getting their heads cracked open till the white meat showed. I wasn't going to say that part, but I had to. They always said black folks was lying. Then you just kept getting videos after videos after videos of police brutality. And then it advanced from just beating black folks up to actually just straight out killing and murdering. So my question is, can anybody answer this question? With black people around this country and in other parts of the world complaining about police brutality, why hasn't it stopped? You already got the answer. Because the ones who sign the checks and the ones who tell the commissioners and the chief of police what to do, they haven't put their foot down and told them to stop. Because if they wanted this police brutality and this unfairness to stop, it would have stopped. So now it's time to go past the police departments and you go to the people that the police answer to. You start threatening to stop supporting them and donating your money and time to them, to their campaigns when they're trying to get their asses back in these positions that they really don't do anything for. The people that really count, they don't do anything for. But you start taking your support from them, you white folks that got the money and the connections. The ones who say they're not racist, let me see how not racist you are by you stop protecting and supporting these people that go into these black communities and abuse them. Take our tax dollars and then you still abuse our people. So the ones that tell the police what to do, those are the ones you got to go after. Let them know you're not playing. And like I said, if there's any white people in this country with any kind of conscience and good heart, and you got the money and the time and the resources, you let these people that tell the police what to do, to tell them to stop.
Now, let me get back to what I was saying. The Kerner Report recommended that police departments eliminate brutality and misconduct through clear use of force guidelines, provide better protection for crime for ghetto residents, hire and promote more African American officers, and create mechanisms to resolve citizen complaints fairly. Its investigation found that in Detroit and in every other city, no real sanctions are imposed on offending officers. In the end, the Kerner Report sought to split the
difference, declining to endorse civilian review of police misconduct, but also recognizing that police departments cannot adequately investigate their own officers. The commission recommended that a separate external municipal agency investigate complaints against the police and have the power to impose discipline. The problem I have with this is if you have people at the top that have the same mentality that some of these police officers have towards black folks, hatred, disrespect, whatever their issues is, what's the point? If you have a chief of police that talk worse about black folks than the officers, what do you expect those officers to do that are racist, that are biased, that are prejudiced, when they have someone above them that had the same mentality or worse? And then the chief or the commissioner has someone above him or her that has the same mentality or worse. What do you expect? What kind of recourse? What is going to be done to these people who have people above them that have despised black folks for whatever reason? How are you going to discipline people like that when you have someone above you that feel the same way as you do? Or if you don't feel that way, but you got to deal with this racist person that's above you that will dare you to come and tell them how you feel. Well, you know what, sir? I know you said we have an open door policy. So I would like to just tell you how I feel about, how I see some officers treat people and, black Americans. You're going to see the whole disposition change. Get your ass out my office. The open door policy is closed to you. And you better hope you have a job tomorrow, sir.
Let's be real with it. Let's continue. Chapter 12 of the Kerner Report examined the actions of police in controlling the civil disorder themselves. The use of force section of this chapter asks whether it was really justified to use deadly force against looters. Are bullets the correct response to offenses of this sort? The Kerner Report also criticized the police overreaction to alleged sniper fire, which was highly exaggerated. The Kerner Commission recommended minimal use of force by police and recommended tear gas and other non-lethal weapons in riot control situations rather than shooting people.
See how they ignored this report? They recommended that the police do not use lethal force when they're dealing with riots and things of that nature. Look what's still going on today. You see, has the light switch come on yet? I'm not even really talking to black folks. The only black folks I might be talking to are those that are lost in that world that majority of white people are lost in. Like not existing in reality. I'm talking to you then. The ones that want to sit here and say there's no such thing as racism and everything is good and black people need to pull themselves up by the bootstraps. I'm talking to you black folks. Those kind of black folks that say that nonsense that make me want to just take this book and just... But anyway, these white folks, the majority of the white folks that did this report recommended that police stop using lethal weapons. Here we are in 2023.
Chapter 13. Administration of justice in emergency conditions. Critique the courts for assembly line justice, including excessive bail and indefinite detention after the police made indiscriminate mass arrests as a riot control strategy. According to the Kerner Commission, this built an existing unfair process in local criminal justice systems, especially cash bail policies that kept more poor and black people confined for long periods of time before trial. The report also pointed out that the Detroit Police Department had arrested dozens of people for inciting riot or sniping with intent to commit murder, but almost all charges had been dismissed for lack of evidence. Many innocent bystanders and minor curfew violators
and minor curfew violators also have been arrested, inflaming racial tensions without furthering the interest of justice. Do you know that, like, some people, some white communities, like Huntington Beach, I don't know, if you don't live in California, look up Huntington Beach. Look up these hoity-toity communities where, you know, are predominantly white. And then, like, I asked the question one time on social media, we're in 2023, why do we have predominantly white communities still in this country? Ask that question. And they're not just predominantly white, they're rich. Okay, so my point was, you know how many riots they'll have in these hoity-toity cities that we don't hear about in the news? When they go out and see a sports game and hockey, and one of their teams don't win and they felt should have won, you know, these folks that tear up their own little towns and cities, and you don't hear not one peep of it in the newspaper. But let a black person get upset about injustices that are repeatedly done to them, some of them for no damn reason. Black folks be called all kind of animals and savages and thugs. But these rich white folks and their kids can tear up their own towns and cities because of a stupid ass game, and you won't hear one word about it.
The article encourages people to read the Kerner Commission's examination of the role of police and the broader criminal justice system in urban areas generally and during the civil unrest. Most of those who attack white authority and property seem to be demanding fuller participation in the social order and the material benefits enjoyed by the vast majority of American citizens. The Kerner Commission's report included a profile of disorder on each of the 8 cities that experienced major unrest in 1967, including Detroit. Detroit profile portrayed the July 23rd raid on the Blind Pig as the spark in an African-American neighborhood already frustrated by frequent incidents of police brutality. The Kerner Report also stated that the DPD's Citizens Complaint Bureau was ineffective at best. The report portrayed 12th Street as a community that suffered from over-policing and under-policing at the same time. Almost 4/5 of residents surveyed believe that the police department failed to respond in a timely manner when asked for assistance. Fully 93% expressed a desire to move out of the neighborhood. Recent urban renewal programs had contributed to the overcrowding on the 12th Street area by displacing poor black residents of other parts of the city. As they moved in, almost all white residents moved out, leaving behind only the white-owned stores that often exploited their customers. The published report described the details of a number of questionable shootings by Detroit Police Department officers and National Guardsmen without explicitly second-guessing the prosecutor's decision to find all of them justified except for the Algiers motel murders. The Kerner Commission's assessment of what happened in Detroit is nevertheless a sobering indictment of the operational failures and excessive force deployed by the DPD and National Guard. Chapter 2, Patterns of Disorder, found that the typical rioters was not a hoodlum or criminal, but rather an unemployed or underemployed African American teenager or young adult who felt alienated from white society and from traditional middle-class civil rights organizations. There was no organized black power conspiracy, but rather spontaneous and collective actions by African American youth who attacked white authority and property because they wanted and demanded the full rights of American citizenship.
The findings reinforced the Detroit Urban League survey and portrayed the actions of the rioter as clearly political, if disorganized, and connected to broader racial inequalities in housing, education, employment, and policing. The Kerner Commission investigators also visited Detroit and interviewed African American residents and community activists as part of their inquiry into the causes of racial unrest. In one such meeting, young African Americans in the grassroots workers' organization told investigators the following: "We want better opportunity. 2, we must attack what makes ghettos. 3, Negroes are systematically excluded from the mainstream of life. 4, is there a bigger insult than going to Chrysler's and knowing that you are qualified and still are not getting a job? Look around. When you go to hospitals, courts, retail department stores, grocery stores, especially in the medical field, I notice it a lot. When I go to a hospital or doctor's office and I see a black American, not a black foreigner, I'm actually surprised. You gonna tell me that out of all these hospitals we have in this big old country, you can't find or hire any qualified black American medical staff? Is it you can't find them, or you not looking to hide them? Dirty son of a... 5, racists in Detroit have the finest power structure in the country, and they are more skilled at racism than in the South. Number 6, the riots are completely the responsibility of the white society. Last, you are going to get your foot off my back, or I'm going to break your leg. And that's the sentiment of black Americans. That's how they feel. The ones who have had to be in the trenches and deal with the muck and mire that they shovel into the ghetto, urban America. That's the sentiment. And you have some middle class and rich black folks that know reality. Even though they have money and resources, they know the truth. And then you got some that are so far removed, it's like if you cover them up, hid them in a room and only listen to their philosophy and their experiences and so-called knowledge of life, you would swear up and down that was a white person that was out of touch, that grew up in this fantastic Disneyland life, that everything just goes right for them, and if it doesn't go right for them, you gotta just pick yourself up and dust yourself off. That kind of mentality. Okay, you know what? I'm going to end it right there. And I will come back with part 3 as soon as possible. And I would just like to say that this report again was done in 1967-68, and you listen to the findings of this report, and it's mirroring the same thing that's still happening today. And I'm gonna end this video with a question: why, with all majority of black Americans in this country complaining about the same exact thing? You can go on the East Coast, they'll have the same exact problems as someone on the West Coast, Northern USA, the bottom is USA. They're gonna have the same issues and complaints when it comes to the police department. Why hasn't it stopped? Who needs to be contacted and given a loud, clear message that if you don't get this under control with the police department being your slave patrol in 2023, it's going to be some severe repercussions that follow? Because it's the people at the top that enable this enable this, and the people at the top are not ringing these officers in and giving them a loud, clear message that this will not be tolerated any longer. After George Floyd, people were demanding that qualified immunity be removed from police officers, and when that is removed, they believe that police officers will be more conscious of their decisions and how they treat everyone, and not just, non-Black Americans. So when you start seeing the people, the powers that be, actively remove that qualified immunity that make police officers believe they're untouchable, then you'll see this country showing that they're actively, supposedly trying to make right of the wrongs that were done to Black Americans. But until that qualified immunity get lifted, or until they start actively doing something to show police officers that they're not going to tolerate this abuse anymore, from not just with Black Americans, primarily Black Americans, but any citizen in this country, then, we can talk. I think some of these politicians and people who tell the police departments what to do, some of them use them as overseers. I really firmly believe that. Like I said in the other video, there are people in this country that have the ability to stop things. They really do. It can stop overnight. But they haven't done it. And the question that you need to ask yourself is why? Instead of looking down on Black people and condemning them and criticizing for everything they do, even the air they breathe, stop and think about the people that can stop this. You see, the protests don't change anything. The riots, they'll act like they got sense for a minute. The people in positions, or the powers that be, will act like they have sense for a minute. Then they go right back to business as usual. All right, I'll come back with part 3 as soon as possible. Thank you for your time. Have a great day.